Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us on the Holtecast. Jack Grimsey alongside Robert Lintott, as always, for 7500holt.com, bringing you the latest in Aston Villa news. So last week, 5-0 loss to Arsenal wasn't exactly what we wanted. I mean, it wasn't what all of us thought was going to happen. It's kind of what Zito thought was going to happen. He said 5-2. That was being pretty generous, though, really.
Yeah, I enjoy that. Wasn't exactly what most of us wanted to happen. I think you can safely go with the 100% umbrella there. Nobody wanted that.
I mean, oh, well, Zito. I mean, but like,
Well,
yeah.
yeah. Nobody who cares about Villa wanted that.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Maybe, I don't know, maybe some people were thinking that if Villa just get nuked a couple more times, then Lambert's going to be gone. Which,
We were just saying before the podcast that Paul Lambert is the cockroach of managers. You can drop as many nukes on that guy as you want. He'll still be rolling around.
yeah, I think that's fair to say. I mean, it's really the first pretty bad loss of the season, though, and we were thinking that because we got a question from Jimmy S at jshar87 on Twitter. If the scoreless streak continues, how long can Lambert last? So, I mean, unofficially forever.
just dancing around as the world burns is what Paul Lambert's going to be. I think he sees out the season no matter what happens.
I think so too, but if like after the Chelsea match coming up, we're gonna have Hull, and then it's Leicester in the cup, but then Stoke City. If the Hull and Stoke matches go badly, I think maybe upper management is going to be under some pressure, under some serious pressure from the fans who go to the games protesting at those matches, and maybe it's even a reason that Paul Lambert wanted to bring in Ricky Lambert, is so the fans couldn't chant Lambert out, because that would really have an impact on the players, which is what he was saying before.
Just confuse the hell out of everyone at Villa Park. No, not that one, the other one.
Yeah, the banners would have to say, "Get that Lambert out." Although judging from their reaction, it's not really like any of the fans wanted Ricky Lambert in so badly.
And I can't blame them, really. Ricky Lambert was a pretty desperate move, given how bad he's been at Liverpool this year. Except when he played against Villa, of course.
Yeah, managed one of his 2 league goals. But we'll get back to transfers later. Try to go back to that Arsenal match. I mean, yeah, had the early goal, and it's kind of like what we had talked about before. Once Villa conceded, it's like, well, maybe we'll be able to manage one to get the draw, but we're still probably going to lose.
Yeah, and they held it to 1-0 going into halftime. And it looked like they might be able to hold the draw for the last 20 minutes of the first half or so. They looked like a steaming pile of dog crap for the first 30 or 35 minutes. But for the last 20 or so minutes of that first half, they ended up looking organized. They ended up pulling the offside trap pretty well. They were getting it together, so we thought maybe they could get one goal out of this.
Like, trying to play some football? Maybe, I don't know. You can't be too upset losing 2-0 to Arsenal at the Emirates, and considering the form they've been in.
Yeah, exactly. It looked like one of those matches where it's like, maybe they can get the draw, but if not, we'll see a little progress here. We'll see them hold an on-fire Arsenal side to 1 or 2 goals. That's not bad. And then the second half happened, and holy crap.
Now we have the worst goal difference in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. The worst by a goal. Still,
worse than QPR, who don't even have a terrible manager, I guess. They don't even have a manager.
He's out with a knee injury.
He's out with a no injury.
Yeah, exactly. No chance in hell we want that. But yeah, that second half, my God. You almost feel for Lambert there, because the players just could not have looked less interested.
Yeah, I think in that situation you could fault the lad's effort.
Yeah, absolutely. And he did. He apparently just blew up at them and said they gave in, and they sure as hell did.
So I don't know. Maybe that's what you need to do sometimes, and maybe maybe against Chelsea, since we know we're going to lose, maybe you drop Benteke from the starting lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. He needs it right now. I think he needs to be sat out. I did have a bit of a laugh thinking after the Arsenal match, what if Roy Keane had still been around? Which player would literally be dead?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. It would have to be someone in the midfield.
There would have been blood shed, right?
I think so. I think that's fair. I think the Arsenal dressing room would have ended a little more red than it started.
It's really tough to figure out who to fault there. Yes, it was suicidal for Lambert to play a high line against Arsenal. And if you do play that high line against Arsenal, you need to change things a little bit. You can't have your wingbacks running up. You've got to have them as part of that high back line.
Yeah, maybe you would have had to go 3 center backs or something.
Exactly.
So that you could push them into the midfield more, but.
And the problem right now with Arsenal is they have, in the past month, changed themselves into a quite frankly brilliant counter-attacking team.
Yeah, which isn't really what we've seen from them always in the past, but it's like it seems like always maybe February or March they start their late season push and either get back into the top 4 or and it looks like they just started it a bit earlier this season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of figured it out.
Sam Ty on Twitter today was doing a little heat map looking, and
I saw
Walcott and Özil, the two of them, they didn't have position, like Sam points out. They were everywhere. They got behind the ball. They ran quickly. They touched the ball perfectly, and they just demolished that defense. They made it look pathetic. Brad Guzan looked the fool. Yoris Akora and Kieran Clark looked like idiots.
And you're able to get away with that when you have Coquelin, who is playing brilliantly in defensive mid. He just really came out of nowhere for Arsenal. He was being shipped out on loan the past couple of years and comes back and signs a new contract. Looks like he's going to be at least a squad rotation player for them. And I don't know. Obviously, Cazorla is killing it, and Ramsey's doing well as well. So. Yeah, it
was
and they didn't even have Sanchez,
Yeah, and during the match, Carlos Sanchez, kept getting shit for looking bad, and I was so torn on what to think about Carlos Sanchez because, yes, he did look like crap, but he also looked like literally the only midfielder who was trying to do anything. And so when you have to run the game by yourself, of course you're going to make mistakes.
I think starting Cleverly was the wrong decision. I think out of all the bad decisions you could say Lampard made of playing the high line or starting, I mean Richardson was debatable, but he came back and made a tackle in the box last man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I don't think Richardson was too poor.
Yeah, made a tackle in the box well out of his position too. He was
on the right side.
Yeah, he was on the right side. He was, where Akora should have been.
Yeah, or Hutton, but yeah, I think Westwood for Cleverly. Sanchez, it's hard to argue that Sanchez should be dropped, but
he has had a poor couple of matches.
Yeah,
but I mean
that's gonna happen.
Yeah, and I like you would much rather see Westwood for Cleverly than Westwood for Sanchez. I actually kind of felt badly for Sanchez. He looked like crap, but like I said, he was doing everything, and he had no
everyone
support.
Else didn't look like crap either.
Yeah, exactly, and he had no support, so he's inevitably going to look like crap in that situation. Guzan didn't look great, but he got put in a lot of one-on-ones.
Yeah, Guzan was in a really tough position with the high line, like on the first goal with Giroud. If they break through, what are you expecting one-on-one?
Yeah, Guzan's had a rough January in general. And making some uncharacteristic mistakes, getting beaten at the near post. He's had a lot of trouble.
Against Leicester.
Yeah, Alex on Twitter mentioned during the match, so I'm not holding Alex to this because it was in the heat of the moment. He may stand by it. But he mentioned on Twitter that, he wants to see Shay Given for Chelsea. What do you think? I mean, even if that is just heat of the moment tweeting, is it worthwhile to give Guzan a match off?
I think it would be if the cup match wasn't next, or I guess it's not going to be next. I guess you'd go given Chelsea, and then what? You put Guzan back in for Hull.
Yeah, and then give him back for
Unless
Leicester.
Guzan shuts, or unless Given shuts Chelsea out.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I'm not saying it's not the same reason I want to say Benteke bench, which is to send a message. It's let him clear his head. Guzan's played every Premier League match this season, and he's starting to look a little tired. He's starting to look a little.
Yeah, a little jaded, I think, because I don't know when you know that if you make one mistake, it could all be over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or even if you don't, if they get on in 1v1 and beat you.
Yeah. I don't think there's any hope of it happening, and I don't think it's a thing that drastically needs to happen, but I wouldn't mind seeing a Given for Guzan switch this weekend.
No, not at all, and that's mostly because Shea Given has looked pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. He's not been great, but lately neither has Guzan. I think at this point they're sort of equal in my mind. I mean, Given held Bournemouth to 1.
Yeah, and it was a garbage time goal. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. He held them to 1, and Bournemouth are one of the best scoring teams in English football right now.
yeah,
They're
in
the
the
antithesis
championship,
of Villa.
I mean, I think it's hard to say that Villa are at a level that's a lot above the top of the championship right now, really.
Yeah, absolutely, and he played decently. But it is, I don't think it's worth spending a ton of time on because it's not a huge issue. I don't think the problem is the keeper. I think the problem continues to be the inability to score.
Yeah, and to I don't know, to produce really good chances, quality chances.
Yeah, Carlos Hill rather, looked decent in the midfield. He and Carlos were pretty much the only two people. I kept saying Carlos was the only one, but that's because Hill is so up front trying to create stuff that he's not really a midfielder at this point. But he did his best and still got, no support.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, really, what can we expect in matches against, City, Chelsea, Arsenal. Jesus.
No, it's all right. Don't worry about
City, Chelsea, United, I guess, Arsenal, even Southampton.
it.
This is obnoxious.
Your phone is rebelling against you.
Yeah, But
We forgot to
sorry
mention
about
on the
that.
Holtecast, we're now taking live on-air calls. If you want to call Jack, 691-ROCK, 691-ROLL.
Hey, so that's cool, but
You were saying Hill is, all by himself up there trying to create.
yeah, but again, in matches against the top four, top three, you're not going to expect to be able to get anything, and when you're really overmatched in those areas, it's going to be tough if everyone's not playing at the top of their ability, really.
Yeah, absolutely. We mentioned it briefly. Bench Benteke. You think that's a thing that has to happen at this point?
I don't think it has to happen, but it could. I don't know. Maybe it could light a fire under him. And since Vyman he played well against Bournemouth, I guess.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's
he
hard to
gets a
make
chance.
anything.
It's hard to
hard
make the
to
case for Balnahor to start.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's if you bench Benteke, who do you play? And I've heard some people saying anybody. Maybe you go with a one-striker formation.
Yeah, with just Vyman up there.
Yeah, or one striker and two wingers, Sinclair and Heel up top, and then Westwood, Delph, and Sanchez in the middle.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you give Nzogby the chance.
No.
Just completely past that.
Yes, I am so done with him. He was not bad. He was actively hurting Villa when he was on the pitch.
I mean that's true. I don't know. I just think he's been out of the lineup for such a long time. Maybe he's gonna try next time, I guess. I mean, if there's a match to just waste, it'd be this one.
Yeah, that's true. The nice thing about this, if there is any upside, is prior to Arsenal, Villa were still on their point a match, which would get them to 38, which would absolutely be safe this year. If they can win against Hull, even if they get drubbed by Arsenal and Chelsea, they'll still be on that point a match pace.
Yeah, and really that's what we have to be looking for, because a win against Hull, I think we'll be at least in the 15th looking at the table, since they're just above Villa, West Brom with 22 points also, but a better goal difference obviously, and then there's Sunderland and Palace who both have a point more, and Burnley's 2 points below Villa, Hull and QPR both 19, so 3 points below, and then Leicester 5 points below. So provided Villa can get that win against Hull, I think they'll at least stay or move up one spot. Because all those teams aren't winning every week, and they aren't even drawing every week.
Is Hull a must win right now?
I think it is, just because you look at, like you were saying before the pod, Villa actually went two wins, a draw, and 2 losses in January, but unfortunately the 2 wins weren't for any points. So just picking up the 1 point in 6-week stretch is pretty bleak.
Yeah, absolutely. I wrote last week on Sunday after the Arsenal match that Villa could set a new historical record. The longest stretch in the Premier League without scoring a goal. It would take 2.5 matches exactly for that to happen. Do you see it happening?
2.5 more from now? I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe they get a fluky goal against Chelsea. I don't know. You could always lose 6-1. and Hull, and that'd be the first half of Stoke.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would highly doubt that.
Yeah. We are, I believe, if I remember correctly, we're in the top 6 or 7 longest stretches all time right now.
Yeah, the one from earlier in the season, probably top 10 as well. Probably.
But coming into this season, the longest Aston Villa, in their entire time in the Premier League, so in the entire history of the Premier League, the most consecutive matches Villa had gone without a goal was 4. They've bested that twice this year.
That's impressive.
in a not good way, but yeah, absolutely. It is oddly impressive. You guys are quite good at being crap.
And it hasn't even been the matches, that long string of matches against all the top teams.
Yeah. Yeah, it's futility. But yeah, if they can't score, they are in line to break the Premier League scoring record at halftime against Stoke on the 21st of February.
Yeah, maybe they can make that halftime announcement then. Everyone get in your seats for halftime. We're gonna have
We've got a huge announcement coming up. Villa have set a new Premier League record.
We're the worst.
Before the podcast, I was wondering if my I hate Aston Villa mood was going to continue during the podcast, and it appears the answer is yes.
Yeah, I think that was a safe bet.
I should have taken that one. Arsenal sucked, but it's a loss that we all sort of expected, if a worse loss than we expected. What about transfer window? Deadline day was boring as crap.
Yeah, I don't know. It looked like coming into it, we didn't think Villa was going to do any business, and then Lambert had said, "Well, we may not be done," and then he said, "We are done," and
then we got rumors of Ricky Lambert. After we were done, we actually started, putting in bids for Ricky Lambert.
Yeah, and then I guess he didn't want to come to Villa, which, Liverpool was the club he supported as a kid, and then he finally gets to move there. It would have been strange, I think, if he moved.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, at this point, if you voluntarily are like, I would love to leave Liverpool for Aston Villa, I would be worried.
Yeah, and I think if he thought that he could start every match,
he might have.
Then maybe. I don't know. I don't think Lambert is going to really change to 2 strikers, even if it looks like Kozak's going to be out for the rest of the year, maybe.
Is that the latest?
I don't know. He just got back into training.
I'm still holding out hope that he comes back in late this month or March.
Yeah, it's entirely possible, but still not for a while.
But yeah, so we don't do anything on transfer day. No one really did much on transfer day except for Spurs.
No, and yeah, it was a lot of nothing around really everywhere.
Yeah, it was a pretty boring day, which was disappointing, especially given that at the site we had everyone lined up for a really busy transfer day and nothing happened. But since we last podcast, we got Scott Sinclair, making it a grand total of 2 incoming transfers over the window. Do you think Lambert did enough?
I think so. I mean, obviously he would have liked to add another piece, but going back to the Lambert thing, it was weird that a striker hadn't been really identified the whole window until deadline day, and then you're just going to go for Ricky Lambert. Like, why? I think if you would have known you wanted a striker, you could have found somewhere on the continent that would have been cheaper.
And Ricky Lambert for a rumored $5 million.
Yeah, that seems kind of strange, especially with Lambert's transfer policy.
Yeah, absolutely. An old guy who hasn't been all that effective for $5 million.
You're not going to be able to sell him.
No, absolutely not. So, yeah, that was a little bit odd. We heard, I think it was on Sunday or Saturday, that rumor that maybe Demba Ba, but that didn't pan out, and I think that's okay.
Yeah, I would have preferred Demba Ba over Ricky Lambert, even with his glass knees, but...
Yeah, heavens yes. So, Heel and Sinclair, on the transfer grades, you gave it an A+ and an A- or an A?
I gave Heel an A and Scott Sinclair an A-. James gave Heel an A+ and Sinclair a C.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with what you guys said on Heel, A or A+. I would split the difference between the two of you on Sinclair and give him a B.
I just gave him an A- because it was a loan with a view to a permanent. Of course, you don't want to buy a player who's played 50 minutes of football this year.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I thought James was a little bit low, mostly because it's a almost zero risk move. And so
yeah,
okay
exactly, and it does fill a need that we had.
Yeah, exactly. So zero risk. I wouldn't go as high as an A because we literally have no idea what Sinclair can do at this moment. I mean, he looked like junk with West Brom, but we haven't seen him play this year, so no idea there.
Yeah, and did we hear what the fee would be in the summer if?
I think I heard something like $2 million.
So yeah, the $2 million, and then I think what's he on, 40,000 a week maybe, so another $2 million in wages a year.
Yeah, which isn't crazy if he actually performs the way he's capable of performing. I was intrigued to see if you didn't see it on the site yesterday or 2 days ago. By the time you're hearing this, Brent Stephen Smith, one of our readers, wrote a fan post looking
fantastic fan post, really.
Yeah, looking at all of Lambert's incoming transfers, and I was shocked to realize that Lambert has yet to spend double-digit millions on anyone.
The highest was Benteke then for 7.
Yeah, something 7 or yeah, 7.74.
Well, yeah, I think that's in euros, and is what Transfer Market does.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, £7.74 million is the highest transfer fee he's paid yet. I would be really intrigued to see what Lambert could do if he were given, even a $25 million budget.
Yeah, but again, like what he was saying, a lot of those really the star players are in that 20 million range. But if you could, I don't know, if you can get someone for 10 next summer, and then if you have 15 million to spend across 3 more players, because what we saw earlier in Lambert's career was trying to bring in a whole ton of players and seeing if 1 or 2 of them could be hits. I think now that he's got the squad more established, if Sinclair stays, and then you have Heel, and if you just really need to upgrade a couple positions, I think maybe right back could be a position we want to do next year. I'm not sure how long Hutton's going to last, but just for example, but if you are able to spend maybe 10 or even 15 million on a really dynamic midfielder, you could really start to see the squad kind of evolve.
Exactly, and so it was kind of interesting to get that look at what Lambert has done. And you're right that, give him a little bit of money and see what he can do, if you're willing to let him stick around. Which again goes back to Lambert the cockroach. I think he's here forever.
Yeah, but like we had seen a little even before that, maybe him in a director of football role would be perfect.
Yeah, Adam wrote that really, really good look. That Lambert has fulfilled the duties of a director of football, kept things financially well constrained, made decent transfers on a limited shoestring budget. Um, he's fulfilled all those roles of a director of football really well. The thing that he's had a lot of trouble with is the on-the-pitch result. It would be interesting. I think they should consider it, moving him to the DOF.
Yeah, I think so, especially if you could get a manager who would work with him well in line with that transfer policy, because, like you said, some of the problem has been on the pitch, but that's also somewhat due to the players that he bought.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, obviously he hasn't been able to just gut the whole squad when he got here and start from scratch, so you're kind of dealing with pieces that are already there, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Like bringing Guzan back was huge.
Mm-hmm.
If he didn't do that, I think we'd be in real trouble, no matter how good Shea Given could be or has been. But
Jed Steer is the future.
yeah, Jed Steer, I guess.
Yeah, no, bringing Guzan back was big. He's made the smart decisions when it comes to the market. The problem has been he hasn't been able to translate that to success. And I do like the idea of him as a director of football. The thing that I can't see happening is a young guy like Lambert accepting a role like that.
No, yeah, maybe not, because...
He wants to make a name for himself as a manager.
Or even if not, maybe he just wants to manage, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But boy, the interesting thing is he doesn't look like he wants to manage.
I mean, to be fair, who would want to manage Villa right now?
Yeah, no kidding.
I guess sticking with the transfer business, we looked at the outgoing transfers as well with both. I mean, we only sold former youth team players, but we also managed to loan out Darren Bent and Chris Hurd, as well as Kellum Robinson leaving, I guess, at the end there, and Gary Gardner had left. But the Robinson deal, how stupid was that?
God, so goddamn bitter about that Robinson deal. 2 months that he could have been playing, and we've made it really, really clear at this point that he wasn't needed as cover for Bent, because Bent isn't here. We didn't bring anyone to replace that void, and we sent Robinson out. He's not needed as Bent cover.
Yeah, I don't think we needed to either, because in a pinch, he could have, if Benteke went down, or even if Benteke and Vyman went down, you still have Igban Lahore, and, you know, I think someone can at least sit up there at striker better than Robinson or Bent was going to do.
Absolutely, and you could have recalled him at any point if you needed it. Right? You're never in a position where if you needed that spot that Darren Bent provided you, you needed it that second in the middle of a match. It was always if something happened in a match, Bent was going to bump up to a bench position or maybe start, and you need that so you can recall the guy in the meantime. It never made any sense. So I'm glad to see him out on loan again. Still rumors that perhaps championship clubs are chasing Jack Grealish on loan still.
Yeah, I heard 6 clubs according to Matt Kendrick.
Yeah,
Twitter, so.
And God hopes they take that.
I think they will. I think they're probably just trying to decide what would be the best fit.
Yeah, I hope so, because he needs to go out on loan. He needs to be playing. He really could be the future of this club. And to see him stagnating on the bench is not helping anyone.
Yeah, or with the U21 team, that's just terrible.
Yeah, exactly. It's not any help at all. So get him playing time. Get him playing time in a competitive atmosphere.
Yeah, in the championship would be really a pretty good atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely. He'll get beaten up. He might even get an injury here or there, but he's shown he's really resilient.
Well, yeah, he got destroyed in League One last year, but
one tackle.
Hopefully he brings his shin pads to the championship.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. The outgoing moves made sense. I thought it was sad.
Getting Ben off the wages for at least for a while, I think, is pretty good.
Yeah. And God only knows how much of that wage bill the other team is covering. But who cares?
Yeah, I mean, even if Derby are paying half.
Yeah, exactly. It's something off the books. And Bent is now gone. His contract is up in the summer. Hurd's contract is up in the summer. He's probably gone too. I can't see any reason to bring either of them back.
Yeah, I don't think so because just with, I mean, it's not like Senderos' contract's gonna be up. I mean, maybe if Lara leaves, we're gonna need to actually buy a proper center back, and not just have Hurd, who's gonna be fourth string, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I don't know. If you don't look at what happened on the pitch, if you just look at the economic and transfer side of things, I thought it was a really, really successful transfer window. I thought Paul Lambert did a nice job with a limited budget, making some moves that could help this team really quickly.
Yeah, Heel for 3.2 million is a steal.
Yeah,
So far
absolutely.
from what we've seen, and I think it's only gonna get better. You know, he's not just gonna become terrible.
Yeah, exactly. And Sinclair on a loan is good business. A loan with an option to buy is even better. Not pulling the trigger on Tom Cleverley.
Yeah, that was
doesn't-
huge.
Yeah, that doesn't go into the in column or the out column, but I still think it's a smart piece of transfer business that he did. There's no reason.
And then re-signing Delph, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, those four moves right there made for a pretty decently successful transfer window.
And if we can sign Cleverly in the summer for free, great.
Would you, though, at this point?
Depending on the wages, yeah, because
Yeah, depending on I suppose, but I think you could probably get the equivalent of Cleverly free on lower wages without much effort at this point. And apparently Everton want him, so they're going to bid him up, so screw that.
well, yeah, I guess we couldn't just sign him for free and then sell him to Everton, but
No, you
because,
can.
yeah, like what someone had mentioned at the end of Brent Steven Smith's article was that how Chelsea are buying to sell in order to kind of raise their financial fair play salary cap.
Mm-hmm.
With you looked at Schürrle, they made a profit off of him,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. Obviously, their loan system is incredible, but
Oh yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
like Juan Mata, they made a profit off of him, and it just allows you to bring in more expensive players and kind of have some flexibility in there, even when you are spending an inordinate amount of money. But
Yeah. So, speaking of Chelsea,
yeah, speaking of Chelsea, I guess let's move on from transfers to that. I think, I mean, like we were saying earlier, this is another match like Arsenal that, frankly, what can you expect out of it?
yeah, I mean, there's plenty to talk about here, but then there's also the side of, is there really anything to talk about? This is a loss, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think at the least by 2 goals.
Yeah, I think we chalk it up as a loss, and anything else is a surprise and a pleasant one at that. With that said, do you just go wild with that lineup? Do shit that you would never do otherwise?
Yeah, I think you can afford to try something different. You know, maybe if that is Shea Given in there, if it is Feynman starting as a central striker alone, or I don't know. I just hate seeing Feynman on the wing.
Yeah,
but
absolutely agreed.
I don't know. You could try even Sinclair and Gabby on the wings, and then heel behind Vyman. Who knows?
Yeah, I would like to see Heel in that, like, at the point of a diamond role.
Or you could throw Bakuna and Loughton into the midfield and try to park the bus. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it doesn't. And there's a half-decent chance that Villa surprised this year. They always seem to have something against Chelsea. You were saying Mourinho at Villa Park?
Yeah, Mourinho in his career is winless at Villa Park, 3 draws and 2 losses. So
yeah, apparently he's cursed at Villa Park. I don't know.
I mean, not anymore that we mentioned it, but
yeah, exactly. It's gone. Sorry. But I mean, something could happen here. I don't think you plan for it. I think you plan for this being a loss, and you play accordingly.
Yeah, and I don't know. Even if you can still play well in a loss to Chelsea, there's a lot of things that you could be able to take away from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Although playing well in a loss is getting really tiring.
Oh, it is, but
yeah, that's what you kind of expect against the league leaders.
Yeah, it's not like Villa have played really well in a loss lately.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Well, we had that like 30 minutes against Liverpool.
Yeah, I guess so. That stretch in the middle against Liverpool where just nothing was going to go in, but
yeah.
I think if you break the scoreless streak and you lose 2-1, whatever.
That's a win. Yeah, take it.
And then
Yeah, get that scoreless streak off your back. If
Yeah,
Benteke plays,
just trying to get
God,
some confidence going into Hull, because
yeah,
the whole match is much more important.
yeah, absolutely. This is the loss. The whole match should be a win. And if it's not, then we can really just pull the pin and start panicking.
Yeah, especially if we get dumped out of the cup by Leicester as well.
Oh God, fuck Leicester, by the way.
Yeah, seriously. But I mean, I guess one positive for the Chelsea match is Diego Costa's going to be suspended,
Yay.
and maybe Fabregas is going to miss. Uh, Felipe Luis and John Obi Mikel also, and Willian, they also could miss. They're probable though. So
Yeah, I just realized the whole match will be before our next podcast.
yeah,
So Hull, like we said, must win.
yeah. Let's talk about Hull, because that one's actually a lot more important, and they have Manchester City this weekend, so
Yeah.
I don't see any way they beat them, and
Yeah.
then they'll be on 5 losses in a row in the league,
Mm-hmm.
or excuse me, 4,
all
because they lost
competitions.
in the FA Cup to Arsenal. Yeah, 5 in all
Yeah.
comps, but their
Um,
last Premier League win, New Year's Day against Everton. I think the Everton players just probably stayed out on New Year's or something, because I don't know how you lose to Hull.
um, yeah, I think it's more compelling reason to screw with the lineup against Chelsea.
Yeah,
So you can put out
to see if there is someone you could use against Hull, especially because it's just a 2-day turnaround. Maybe if there's someone who you're going to need to rest,
Yeah, absolutely.
make sure they're good to go against Hull.
Yeah, you put out your best 11 here. This to me is sort of like playing like a League One side in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. At that point, you put out your best 11 and you salt the earth, just
Yeah.
crush them. It's at Hull, which could be good or bad, but I think this is a match that Villa absolutely have to win.
Yeah, even if you draw Hull, that's going to be bad, because
Mm-hmm.
after Villa, Hull have QPR, who they're probably just going to go into free fall. I don't know. Maybe without Redknapp, they will actually survive. That's what Alex was thinking.
Yeah. I saw that, and he had a good point. You know, they've got striking options, they've got ability to survive. You've got to beat Hull. You've got to start winning these matches against teams below us in the table. You have to beat Hull. You have to beat Stoke. You should give.
Stoke, a draw would be okay, I think, if we could draw both Stoke and Newcastle.
Yeah, that's true. If you can do that, and then you've got to beat West Brom at home.
Yeah, you've got to beat West Brom and Sunderland.
Yeah. You've got to beat West Brom at home, especially though. Can you imagine, being in the midst of this shit season and losing to West Brom at home?
Yeah, because then, I mean, depending on results, we could be above West Brom, and then if West Brom jumps us,
Yeah, absolutely.
or just kind of starts to drift away, it could be the end.
Yeah, and then you get a little run of crap in April with United and Tottenham away. And
But
City
I don't
away.
know, Burnley on the final day?
Burnley on the final day.
It's going to be, I
That
think,
actually
maybe more
might be
important.
a relegation decider, depending on how
Yeah,
things play.
that's an interesting match I could do without.
Villa needs 16 points to hit their total from last year.
Yeah, but I don't think you're going to need 38 to stay up. I think you're going to need like 34.
But this year at least, I'm thinking of 38 as last year's 40. I'm thinking of 38 as the guaranteed safe line.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I could be wrong on that. But so they need 16 points, and that's 5 wins and a draw, 3 wins and a bunch of draws, 3 wins and 7 draws. It's hard to see 3 wins and 7 draws from this club right now.
Yeah, really, that's true, because I don't know.
You should win Hull.
7 draws is kind of a lot. I think it'd be, maybe you could see 4 wins and 4 draws.
4 wins and 4 draws, yeah. So you could beat Hull, you could beat QPR, you could beat Burnley.
And you got to beat West Brom.
And West Brom. God, at this point, it actually might be, if you can just get those 4 wins, you might be safe.
I think so, because that'd be 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
34 might be.
34. Which honestly, that I don't know. You could finish as high as 15th maybe with 34. Just looking at how bad the bottom of the league is. If
I'm envisioning a world in which Villa only score 4 more goals for the rest of the season, but they get those 4 wins 1-0.
that would be miserable.
And survive having scored, what would it be at that point? 15 goals on the season?
Yeah, that'd be tough. I mean, Leicester play QPR on the final day as well, but hopefully both those teams are already settled as going down.
Yeah. I really do think QPR are going to have a run in them. But then again, they could Fulham it. They could do just, we thought Fulham
Or
would have a run in them.
a Wolves of a couple years ago.
Yeah, where you keep thinking that they've got something in them and they never get it.
Yeah, just starts tanking. I mean, Leicester had that pretty bad run from the end of September until Boxing Day. They lost every game then. Since then they've lost 1-0 to Stoke and 3-1 to United, but they've actually managed 4 or 3 wins in the league and one in the cup, but
yeah, it's
and I don't know. Palace, I guess they did bring in Pardew, but they've been on a tear since then. I don't think there's any way Palace go down, especially bringing in Zaha permanent.
Who'd have thought that Pardew was the savior?
Not Newcastle fans.
Maybe
maybe if Newcastle don't have a manager by the time we play them, there's a chance.
Yeah, that's true. God, I just don't know what to do with any of this. Villa genuinely have me worried. I mean, my gut still says they don't drop because there's enough bad in this league. But when I look at that schedule and I try to find, the points, it's hard. It's hard to see where they're coming from.
Yeah, earlier in the year, I'd said that I think there's at least six or seven maybe teams that are genuinely worse. Right now, looking at the league, I think there are just 4, and that's Burnley, Hull, QPR, and Leicester, all the teams that are below us, coincidentally.
Yeah.
I think Sunderland, West Brom, and Crystal Palace are also bad, but there's no way to say that they're worse than Villa.
No, I think it's almost hard to argue that those 4 teams are worse. They can score. Villa cannot score. I don't even know what to say about that because that's such a fundamental flaw. I know that sounds stupid and simplistic, but good God.
Yeah, like we're saying, even if it starts becoming 2 to 3 losses, it's at least more encouraging because you know that you have a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the problem in finding points in the rest of the schedule is you have to assume that Villa score, and thus far in this season, you can't assume that.
No.
How many times have we been shut out this season? I'm sorry, I should have done this. Look, there's 1 against Arsenal, 1 against Liverpool, 1 against Leicester.
The last 6 matches.
Crystal Palace, Sunderland, Swansea, West Brom, West Ham,
15,
QPR, Everton, City, Chelsea, Arsenal, not Liverpool,
Newcastle. Yeah.
So 14.
14.
We have not scored in a majority of our matches this year. And not a slight majority, an overwhelming majority of our matches.
Yeah, nearly 2/3.
Yeah. God, 61% of Villa's matches they've been kept off the score sheet.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think you have to blame that on the manager.
Maybe. But that's where this sort of relegation math becomes a problem. You have to assume a goal, and statistically this year you can only do that 39% of the time.
Yeah, even if we manage to draw every match from here to the end of the season, that would still only get you to 37 points.
Yeah. God, what a shit show.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. So I guess do we want to predict Chelsea? I'm gonna say 0-3, 0-3.
I 03 or 04.
But I don't know. I think we beat Hull 2-1.
You think?
Either
I
that or
think
1-0.
I think 1-1 at Hull. I think it's a
1-1.
must-win that we draw.
Yeah, it could be. Both teams regret. I don't know. I think both teams will really be going for it.
Mm-hmm.
Which, yeah, they'll probably just both end up failing really and split it with a draw.
Yeah, absolutely. I think 1-1 at Hull. But come back next week and find out how wrong Jack and Robert were, because have we been right on a single prediction this year? I think we've gotten the results right.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, maybe Stoke at the beginning. I don't know. We couldn't have predicted a win for that.
yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, that was pretty depressing. But I guess we'll see how. What we're gonna draw a hole like 5-5 and use all the goals for 2 months.
We apologize. We had not planned on today's podcast being this depressing.
Yeah, but I guess maybe we'd planned on Villa actually scoring some goals. So
I think that was the plan the whole year, and it just has not worked.
yeah,
So
that's what I mean. Like, just hasn't happened. So
I would say that we won't be this depressing next week, but we could be coming off of 2 losses, so I'm not guaranteeing anything.
in which case, the Leicester FA Cup match will definitely be a must-win.
God. At some point, you just have to go, well, fuck it, we're getting relegated. Let's win the FA Cup.
Yeah, I mean, you better, like, people asking if you'd rather win the FA Cup and get relegated or stay in the league and not win it. I mean, if you're going to get relegated, you might as well at least try in the FA Cup.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
no reason.
All right, well, thanks for joining us on the Holtecast. Like Robert said, we'll be back next week. Remember, we're still on iTunes, Stitcher, Blog Talk Radio, and YouTube, so make sure to subscribe. And we'll have the match coverage for you, as always, on 7500holt.com.